Today we're going to be ranking the areas in Dark Souls 2. Now see, I kind of have a goo goo gaga brain, and I went through and tried to look for tier lists that only had the Dark Souls 2 areas, but all of those had those like unlabeled, like there wasn't any text kind of clarifying what it was. And with Dark Souls 2, it's not like Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1, you could just show me a picture of one of the areas and I'd be able to name it instantly. But with Dark Souls 2, just considering the fact that, you know, you're just kind of warping around the game the whole time, I didn't have as much time to connect with each area to kind of learn it inside and out. So when it comes to just looking at pictures, they all kind of blend in for me. So we got the God tier, and then we got the good tier, the okay tier, the meh, I could live without it, and then the straight up bad tier, and then don't know how to rank. I'll put this as like didn't visit, because even though I beat both Dark Souls 1 and 2, I didn't go to all the areas, not even the DLCs. So straight off the rip, Sanctuary Garden, is that Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 2? Either way, I didn't visit it, so that's just gonna go to didn't visit. Aldea's Keep, honestly, hold on, I need to Google this. What the heck was even at Aldea's Keep? Aldea's Keep is a location in Dark Souls 2, ample grounds, lore, dude, I cannot remember this area. I was, oh, okay, never mind, now I remember it. Yeah, well, the fact that I couldn't remember it until I saw, like, a few specific screenshots to show that, this area was kind of forgettable. Oh, wait, the Guardian Dragon fight's a part of Aldea's Keep? Okay, you know what, just for that, I think I will put it in, like, B then. Belfry Luna, isn't this where the Belfry Gargoyles are? Again, this is probably gonna go B. It's, like, it's a really short area, but for what it is, I actually really like the Belfry Gargoyles fight. I was surprised when I went down to the comments and realized this is actually a boss fight that most people try to skip. Granted, I was playing with a great sword, so I had the big, strong attacks, you know, I was sweeping, able to take multiple of them out at once, so it really wasn't that bad for me, and by the time I got to him, I had like a +7, +8 sword. So for me, this was a piece of cake, but if you were playing literally any other build, I can see why people hate it, but for me, personally, it's gonna go B. Next up, we got Belfry Soul. I'm gonna put it in C, just because there's not really that much that happened there. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a bad area, it was just pretty uneventful. It was just kind of like that, you know, weird middle section of Iron Keep that you could optionally visit if you wanted to. If I remember correctly, there wasn't even anything useful here. So, I mean, aesthetically, it looks sick, but there's nothing really to it. So, it'll go C. Black Gulch is gonna go F. The boss, it isn't even like, it's just such a bad area. The poison hands and the statues are absolutely egregious and are just annoying. They're not even that hard to fight. They're just, like, annoying. You know what I mean? If you guys play COD Zombies, you know those weird yellow flying things on, like, Shadows of Evil and Revelations? It's kind of like that situation where it's like, you're never gonna die to it. It just annoys you more than anything, and the boss fight was a pushover. That's honestly an understatement. That boss fight was an absolute joke. So yeah, it earned its spot in the F tier. I'm honestly blanking on a lot of these areas. This is one of the issues with Dark Souls 2. Like, the areas are cool, but just because you have fast travel from the start, you don't get to learn the areas the same way that you did in Dark Souls 1. Now, that's not a bad thing, because DS2 is way bigger in scope than DS1 was in almost every single aspect, including the size of its world. Like, if you had to run across this whole game, oh my god, that would get so annoying. But just because it is like that, you didn't really get to get a feel for the areas as well as DS1. Drangleic Castle is gonna go S tier for me, oh my god. If you guys didn't watch the series, the video when I had finally gotten there, that was the point when Dark Souls 2 had began growing on me, and I started to, like, genuinely love the game. I got there, the aesthetic was cool. Sure, there was some enemy spam, and that was a little annoying, but, you know, after everything else I've been through the game, it wasn't nothing I couldn't handle. And I love how this area almost ends up becoming, like, a second medulla for the game. Like, this is almost like, not necessarily a hub world for the game, but it branches out into a lot of different ways in the same way that a hub world would. Because this takes you to every single area you need to go from the point that you reach it until the credits roll. And again, the aesthetic. Now, granted, growing up, one of my favorite movies was Batman '89, okay? And that final scene when they're in the church and it's like raining outside, I've always, ever since I saw that movie, I've always just had a deep love for that aesthetic, like that gloomy night, rainy skies, real dark and dreary. So as soon as I rolled up on Drangleic Castle and I saw it, no matter how bad the transition from the Shaded Woods to this castle was, it doesn't matter. It was so good. Earthen Peak is gonna go to the F tier. Fuck you. Worst of the Fallen Giants is gonna go A tier for me. It has a decent tutorial boss, you know, even if it is pretty easy. I mean, I can't really give it too much flack. It is the tutorial boss, and Trade Demon was the same way. In fact, I think Trade Demon may have been even easier. But Forest of the Fallen Giants, again, it's another cool area where not only is it the starting area, but it actually has a use later on, literally right at the end of the game. It has two bosses. Sure, one, like the Pursuer, you could cheese him really easily. But I love this area. I feel like it was a great way to start out the game, so it deserves A. Another couple areas I don't recognize. Frigid Outskirts, Frozen, however the hell you say that. Grave of Saints, wasn't this the one with the rats and the Royal Rat Vanguard? That's gonna go C. I kind of want to put it in F for the memes, just because if you're new to the channel, basically I have a massive rat phobia, and I hate rats to death. But objectively, it's not as bad as Earthen Peak or Black Gulch, and I would rather go to Grave of Saints than those any other day. But again, it's a very forgettable area. Like, there's so many areas on this list where I've kind of forgotten about them until I started ranking them just now, and this was one of them. It was just very forgettable. However, I know for some people that are like huge into PvP, this would probably be like way up here for them, because I know it's a great PvP spot, but for me, it is just, I don't do PvP. The gutter. Initially, I had hated this area to death, and I was like, oh my god, it's so BS. You go in here, you get shot by this and that. But honestly, I liked the idea of like needing torches in the really dark area and lighting it up. And the thing is, with the torch, just kind of talking about this for a second, there's a lot of areas in the game that kind of utilize this torch idea, and they give you like a really big timer on the torch. So it makes me wonder if at some point the torch was meant to be used as maybe even like a core feature throughout more of the game, but it was dropped at some point in development, because with how long that timer is, you're never going to be worrying about the torch running out, and so many enemies drop the torches for you that it's never really a problem. And again, like, the places that the torch was actually utilized and part of like the core level function, it was really cool, and the gutter was one of them. And the fact that no levels before it had previously utilized the torch, there wasn't any explanation for it by the time that you got to the gutter, and then it was dropped shortly after. You know, I could see newer players. I mean, this is exactly where I was, where I didn't like the gutter at all, because I was like, what the heck is this? But once I learned about the torches, and I kind of knew how to light up the area and navigate through it, I was like, this is actually pretty cool. Room Tower. Oh my god, I got another one I gotta look up. Okay, this one is also part of the DLC, so that is gonna go didn't visit. Cathedral of Blue, for as small and short as it is, it's gonna go B. The boss fight was decent. It's not as forgettable as something in the C tier, but it's also not as good as anything in the A tier. It's pretty in the middle. It's okay. Seeing the homie Ornstein was cool, but definitely wasn't as good as the fight from the original game. Huntsman's, see, I don't know. This area was also really forgettable. What did this have? The Skeleton Lords, I think? I don't know. It wasn't a bad area. I mean, aesthetically it looked cool, but it's not even as good as these. It'll go C. Front of One is gonna go A tier for me. Yeah, I don't think it touches Drangleic Castle. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to keep it an A, just because the final boss in Ashandra really isn't it. I didn't do the required side quest to be able to fight whoever his name is, the fire dude at the end of the game. The Throne Watcher and Throne Defender was a really good fight that actually challenged me quite a bit at the end of the game, so I'm gonna put it A, because that final boss before the actual final boss was pretty well done. Next up, we got Doors of Pharaohs. This one's also going to go C. I really can't remember anything from it. I don't think it was that special of an area if I can't remember anything from it. Dragon Eyrie is going to go S tier for the aesthetic alone. That shot when you're talking to the Emerald chick, the one that you go to level up, and you're like standing there, you see the dragons flying overhead. It is so beautiful. I love that area. Dragon Shrine, don't you literally just go here to get the heart so then you can access the memories? I don't think there's anything else here. It's gonna go A tier, or no, it's gonna go B tier, because it's not inherently bad, but there's not really anything to it. And I mean, the aesthetic of seeing like a really fat dragon just kind of sitting there and handing you a heart's kind of cool. All of the memories, I don't care what memory it is, they are all going S tier. Those were easily my favorite part of the game in terms of like story or lore or anything like that. Even though the fight with the giant lord was a little lackluster and it was pretty freaking easy, I tanked the first try. Just running through there and seeing like the war and just kind of like seeing the history of the place, I love that to death. Didn't I already rank Belfry Luna? Why is there another one down here? Oh Man's Wharf is gonna go F tier. There's nothing memorable about this area at all. Actually, no, I cannot put it in F tier. It's gonna go C tier. The enemy spam is absolutely egregious. The boss fight was almost about as easy of a pushover as Pinwheel. The fact that it takes you to Lost Bastel is pretty cool, but besides that, not a good area at all. In fact, this was the first area that made me consider dropping DS2. Oh, apparently there's a memory I forgot to visit. Memory of the Old Iron King. I don't remember visiting that one, so yeah, I guess I forgot to do one of them. Dragon something, I don't remember visiting that one either. That may be a DLC. Shrine of Amana for me is gonna go B tier. Yeah, it's definitely not as good as these. I don't see why people hated that much. Again, I had a plus 10 greatsword when I was going through here, so I got through it in like maybe 3 or 4 attempts. I didn't really have any troubles with it. I mean, I did use summons, so take that as you will. But honestly, in terms of aesthetic, I thought it was beautiful. The enemies weren't too bad. Sure, they were spammed a bit much, and the mages were a little annoying, but wasn't that bad. Shaded Woods is gonna go A for me, just because I'm a sucker for that backtracking and that, like, interconnected level design where, like, one thing takes you to a bunch of different areas of the game. Okay, I grew up with games like RE2 and RE1, you know, those old school games, and you know, any area like this, like Drangleic Castle, Majula, Shaded Woods, anything that kind of takes you off the branching paths that are important and vital to the story, I'm a sucker for design like that. So that in itself gets it to the A tier, plus the NPC out in like the foggy area, the one that gives you the Gold Pine resin. I really loved talking to him and like hearing his story and stuff like that. He was one of my favorite NPCs in the game. Sinner's Rise, another area I'm blanking on. Was there a boss fight? I think there might have been a boss fight there. Yeah, I'm looking through here. It doesn't seem like there's really anything here. So, I mean, it's gonna go B tier just because it is still a part of like the Lost Bastel area. As I said many times, I'm a sucker for that aesthetic. Things Betwixt, that's gonna go A tier. Again, another area that gets me on aesthetic alone. Even though I don't like the NPC grandmas, I feel like they're kind of assholes. And I really didn't like the tone and set for this game. I like Dark Souls 1 a lot more in terms of its like tone, how it started out. It was like, don't you dare go hollow, and you know, there was like people rooting for you, where in this one it's just like you're just told straight up like, you're gonna die. You're not gonna make it. Like, I hated that shift in tone. All that aside, all my personal biases aside, it's a decent tutorial area. The fact that part of the tutorial area is blocked off by one of those stupid petrified statues in the Scholar of the First Sin edition, I'll never understand. Anyways, yeah, it's a decent area. It'll stay an A. Undead Crypt, didn't even touch this area because I didn't have to. I'm getting sick of having to Google things. I cannot remember shit from this game, and I just beat it. The chariot fight and the brother, yeah, I didn't even do the chariot fight. There's no wonder I can't remember it. I heard that boss fight was kind of AIDS anyway, so I'm just gonna put it in B, C. Is it as bad as these other areas? Yeah, you know what? It's just as forgettable. It can go to C. Harvest Valley is another one that's going to go F. If your whole purpose of being in area is to piss off the player and afflict them with some sort of stupid status effect just for the sake of it, just to piss them off, then you're automatically a bad area. Heights Tower of Flame, I'm honestly going to put it in S, I think. Maybe A tier. It bounces between one of the... You know what? Dragon Rider's really easy to cheese and doesn't put up much of a fight, so realistically, I gotta keep it there, and plus, the old Dragon Slayer is not a part of this area, technically, so it could stay in A, but the area looks cool. It's, you know, it's a nice change from the rest of the Soul series, you know, it's bright, it's sunny. Sure, the enemies here could kind of be a pain in the ass, but I mean, they're big and slow, so once you learn how to dodge them, they're not that bad. However, once you defeat the Dragon Rider and you have all the sleeping knights that finally awaken and come try to kick your ass, they can be pretty annoying. But that said, this area has the Ring of Binding, and if it wasn't for the Ring of Binding, I may have just dropped the S tier, so for that alone, it gets the S tier. Iron Keep is gonna go F tier. Do I need to rant about this area, or do you guys kind of understand? I feel like if I ranted about it, it would just be kind of redundant, because we all know why this area sucks. The egregious enemy spam, the bosses suck ass. Did I mention egregious enemy spam? It's just, it's really bad. Like, it's the pinnacle of bad game design. Normally, I have a decent tolerance for, like, bad game design when in terms of, like, enemy spam and stuff like that. I mean, I grew up during the PS2 area, and if you know anything about that era, then, you know, there was a lot of games during that time that had a lot of the same issues where enemies were just spammed nonstop just for the sake of it, just to kind of pad out the game time and give you that artificial difficulty. Anyways, I'm not gonna rant anymore. We all know why Iron Keep sucks. Fuck this place. Iron Passage, I have no clue if I was even there. Majula's gonna go S tier. It is an absolutely beautiful hub world, and stepping into it, no matter how many times that I've visited that location throughout my playthrough, starting up a new save and walking into Majula for the first time will always be magical. Is it as good as Firelink Shrine? I can't say that, but in terms of aesthetic, I definitely prefer Majula, and the music there, it's like, it hits in a different way. Comparing it to Firelink Shrine or comparing it to anything from DS1, because this is its own game and this is like its own thing, but Majula, it's pretty calming. It's really nice. Love the music, love the aesthetic, love talking to the Emerald chick. And I love how, you know, it brings back that thing from DS1 where the more NPCs you talk to, they kind of all huddle up back in Majula. I like that. And the rest of this, I think, is for Dark Souls 1 and 3. Dragon Memories, I don't know if that's part of Dark Souls 3 or not, but just in case, I'll put it in Didn't Visit. But yeah, here we go. Here is the final tier list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please let me know down in the comments. Mid-editing grotesque here. I just realized that the person that made this tier list was an absolute moron and somehow forgot to include Lost Bastel, aka like the best area in the game. So if I could rank it on any of the tiers, it would definitely be S tier. But anyways, that's that. As always, a shout out to the Patrons, Carnes, Fade, Grandma, Low Booty Time, Big Daddy, Maddie, and Desperado. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully I see you guys back here tomorrow at 7. Thank you for watching. I love you all. Stay beautiful and have an amazing day.